Hey guys, so I'm back with another Sketchbox video because I really did enjoy doing last month's. I have not opened this one yet, even though I took the sticker off. That's all I've done. So here's the art on the front. We'll open it and we will see what is inside. So we'll start with this art. And the artist card. Okay, and I'm going to take this card out so we don't see everything that's in there. Now, so we have Liquitex ink in muted pink, which is awesome. I was just looking at some ink, so that's cool. Just watercolor paper. Oh, it's on postcards. Interesting. Okay. I have the Fabriano brand of Bristol, and it's very nice, so that's cool. Okay, a brush. The sticker, and a Pen Touch Sakura pen in white. Now, I have never heard of this pen before, so I'm assuming, based on the sound of it, that it's a paint pen. But it looks like it's a fine point paint pen if it is. So that's really cool. We'll see what I can do, and if it works out, then it works out, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. So for today's video, I thought it would be fun to show a section where I actually experiment with the supplies a little bit, and you'll see a bit later on I actually develop a concept using the paint pen that I end up incorporating into the finished piece. So on the left is a piece of Bristol and the right is a scrap of watercolor paper. And watercolor paper is what they included in the box, and I think I can see why, because I definitely like the results a lot better on the watercolor paper. The ink is a lot richer in color and it layers a lot nicer, and obviously it doesn't warp as much. But I did want to see what the differences between the different types of paper would be. If the ink got a little bit dry on the brush, you could get a very dry brush effect, as you can see on the bottom of the piece of watercolor paper. It kind of picked up on the texture, which was interesting. Now, as far as the color is concerned, it's definitely an interesting color, which was part of the reason they said that they had picked it. And there you can see me poking at it to see how long it took to dry. It was not dry when I poked it. I take a heat gun to it, even though I'm just going to town. I took a heat gun to it between this cut, and it dried fine. The paint pen was really opaque when you first laid it down, but after a little while it started to sink into the paper a little bit. It was interesting but very subtle. And here, this doodle with this little heart and the arrows coming off the bottom of it is what I actually incorporate into the finished piece. So that about wraps up the test section, and now we go into the finished piece. And I did add a few things to this Sketchbox in order to complete this piece. There were no micron pens included in the Sketchbox, and the Col-Erase pencil, I used a Tuscan Red, both as my sketch, and a little bit later on I add a little bit of shadowing it's not very noticeable. But I tried really hard to come up with an idea that I liked, that I could create using only the pieces in the box, but in the end, I wanted to incorporate far too much detail into this piece to only use what was included in the box. So I kind of want to talk about in this video the experience that I've gotten from Sketchbox as a whole. I think it's really taught me a lot, even in just the 2 months that I've had it. And it has been forcing me outside of my comfort zone. And I really wanted to add more colors to this. I wanted to see how the inks would play with watercolor. And I will do that at another point in the future because I enjoyed working with the acrylic ink. But in the end, I decided to only use the color of acrylic ink that they had included in the Sketchbox and dilute it with water to get lighter colors. And that is very unfamiliar to me. Off the top of my head, I cannot think of any times that I have actually done that in the past. Used a single monochrome color palette. But I did keep it semi-familiar with the character design, and I gave it a little bit of a surreal kind of twist, keeping in line with what I talked about last week and drawing what you like. And I think it was an interesting experiment in pushing myself because I stayed in line with what I like to draw, but it pushed me to think about those things differently. So the color of the ink, it's hard to explain. It's called muted pink, but it's almost more of a red that dilutes down to a softer, more muted pink. It's definitely been interesting trying to use the supplies in the Sketchbox in a way that is enjoyable to me. And something else that I also add to the Sketchbox a little bit later on is another paintbrush. I use a smaller one to get some of the details in the face because this brush, even though it holds a lot of ink, which is really nice for backgrounds, because it holds so much ink, it's really hard to get details, and so I just added a smaller paintbrush. But because of the boundaries that I was given with the supplies in the Sketchbox, I think I was able to be more creative, and there have been several studies done about creativity and how when people are given guidelines and restrictions, they actually thrive creatively, because when we have so many possibilities, endless possibilities, then we have a hard time narrowing down what exactly we want to do. But when I was developing the concept for this piece, I had a very specific color that I knew that I had to use. And it was this reddish pink color, and that translates to love, in my opinion. It has many other meanings, and a bright, vibrant red can be easily manipulated to mean rage or something to that extent. But this specific color, I thought would apply very well to something portraying love in some capacity. So I incorporated a lot of hearts into this piece, and specifically the heart being pierced by an arrow. And I thought it would be an interesting concept to have the heart on her shirt pierced by a three-dimensional arrow as opposed to just the image of an arrow. And I was kind of going for like a Harley Quinn kind of vibe with her character, because she has been shot with 2 arrows and is still smiling. So I kind of went for a vibe that was somewhat similar to that, but I think in the end it turned out extremely well, and I would have never ever thought to do this on my own time. So in the end, I think the Sketchbox has helped me in a lot of ways to be more creative. So if you're struggling with something, I would recommend giving yourself some guidelines. Maybe ask a friend to give you some guidelines so that you have something that is put on you by another person, and go from there. I hope you all enjoyed watching this video, and if you are interested in buying either the original or prints, there are links in the description, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.